Stan, congratulations. You're doing a great job here. This is outstanding what you and your team here at TxDOT have done, and we're very proud of you. And I'm proud of all 12,000 men and women, over 12,000 men and women of TxDOT, many of whom I'm looking at today. But you all work every day to make projects like this available to Texas drivers, and it's part of our mission to connect you with Texas. That's what we're all about. And you notice we're all wearing our safety vests today. Safety is job one at TxDOT. And so we're walking the talk and walking the talk. So we're here today. I want to just, first of all, I want to say how honored I am to be in Waco today. And I want to welcome Senator Cornyn. Thank you for being here. Mayor Meek, thank you for being here. And Judge Felton, thank you for being here, Judge. Senator Cornyn, the reason why we really appreciate you taking time to come to Waco today is behind you, you see what the infrastructure dollars are being used for in the state of Texas. This is a very important project for not only Waco, but it's emblematic of what's important throughout the entire state of Texas. This project alone is about a $500 million project. And what it will do is we consider at TxDOT I-35 is Main Street, Texas. And so what this is doing is relieving one of the main choke points of I-35. And we start with basically I-35 at the Red River, and every year we go through and we catalog what projects we need to advance so that I-35 Main Street, Texas continues to be of service not only to Texans, but also the Texas economy, because so much freight goes up and down I-35. There is an amazing amount of freight that comes in from Mexico, and we have charts that show it goes to the East Coast, to the West Coast, all the way up into Canada. So this is a vital link for that I-35 Texas Main Street. Now, as I mentioned, this is a $500 million project. And Senator Cornyn, this is what real infrastructure looks like. This is the infrastructure that the men and women of Texas are looking forward to, and thank you for everything you're doing to help us with that. Now, one of the reasons why this is so important in Waco is that Waco has basically, Judge Felton, as you know, McLennan County has grown by over 9% in the last decade. And Mayor Meek, as you know, our projections show that the city of Waco is going to grow by 50% by 2045. But projects like this and population growth like what we're talking about are going on all over the state of Texas. And Senator Cornyn, I want you to know that we have over $24 billion of projects ongoing throughout the entire state of Texas today in real time. And of course, we can't build those projects without the dollars. And so Texas has really stepped up. And Senator Cornyn, I know you know this, but Texans went to the polls in November of 2014, and by 80%, Texas voters approved additional funding for state infrastructure. And then Texans went back, and in 2015, they voted by 83%, 3% more than they did the year before, for dedicated funding for non-tolled road projects in the state of Texas. So Senator, Texans, as we always do, have stepped up. And now we need your help in working with your colleagues in Washington on this massive infrastructure bill that is being considered, because the Texas votes have increased our ability to build roads throughout the state of Texas by 44%. We're now up to about a $75 billion 10-year unified transportation program. But it is not possible to do everything we're doing without your help. And so we appreciate you so much for coming to Waco today and for seeing exactly where we're using these infrastructure dollars. We're using the federal gas tax dollars today, as well as the state gas tax dollars. But we can build a whole lot more projects if we have some more infrastructure funding. So Senator Cornyn, again, thank you for being here today. And now I'll turn it over to County Judge Felton.
Thank you. Chairman Bugg. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Chairman Bugg and TxDOT. We're working with the local communities to put together the financing for the SBI, foregoing some local projects that will be reconsidered later on using taxpayer money that we appreciate very much. And TxDOT has done a great job. And Stan, as Chairman Bugg said, we think you're doing a really crackerjack job on this project. There's plenty of information coming out about what lanes will be closed, what exits will be closed, and we appreciate that. Appreciate the media for conveying that. As you know, infrastructure is a predecessor to development, and development's a predecessor to great economic growth and development. And Senator Cornyn, you understand that, and we know that, and that's why you're in that office. We appreciate that very much. The consideration of future infrastructure dollars and the impact it has on Texas is very important. And we've got a lot of projects because we're a growing state, we're an expansive state. There's a lot of commerce that happens just in a short distance right between San Antonio and Dallas-Fort Worth area, not to speak of Mexico and Canada and their input, but having this open where people can trade right here close by is very important, and we appreciate that very much. In the future, our community will be thinking really smart about what kind of infrastructure we need and how to get that funded. And of course, we can participate in part of that funding, but it really takes the federal government to help us get there. So, Senator Cornyn, thank you very much for coming to Waco. And if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know.
Thanks, Judge. Appreciate you. Mayor? I always have to follow Judge Felton, who's one of the wittiest speakers in McLennan County, so I made notes and hit him under the podium. It's an honor to be present here today with Senator Cornyn and Chairman Bugg and TxDOT, and I just want to thank TxDOT and Weber for their great work on this construction project right behind us. And again, thank you, Senator Cornyn, for your investment in our country and in our state. Waco is a fast-growing city with a fast-growing economy in a fast-growing state. And we've worked hard to really build up our economy here in Waco by securing Amazon, moving a facility into Waco to employ a lot of people, and securing a Topgolf down the road that builds up our quality of life, and getting Magnolia to put in a headquarters in downtown Waco, a part of our vibrant downtown community. And all that to say is we have an unprecedented opportunity to really build an economy right now that is vibrant, to bring financial security to families that have traditionally been financially insecure. But none of that can happen without good infrastructure. Making these sort of investments is right. Whether we're talking about kids being able to get to River Valley School by utilizing a new Spiegelville Road bridge, or the Main Street of Texas, the Main Street of America right behind us, I-35, investment in infrastructure is critical to build up our economy. And by the way, doing investment infrastructure projects like this actually is economic development itself. It builds up a workforce, of skilled workforce. They pay livable wage jobs on these projects. So these kind of investments matter to the people in Waco and secure our ability to seize this moment to build a strong and vibrant economy here in Waco. So again, I want to thank Senator Cornyn. I trust his ability to navigate the waters of DC that I'm not articulate in, but appreciate your help in securing projects like this for our community. And thank you for Chairman Bugg for your commitment to our community as well, and commitment to our state. We appreciate y'all being here today, and appreciate your service to our country in Texas.
Thanks, Mayor.
Sir. Appreciate it.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's great to be back in Central Texas, in McLennan County, Waco, Texas. This is ground zero when it comes to keeping our traffic moving here along the I-35 corridor. You know, our state and our nation have been through a tough time with COVID-19. Unemployment nationally was about 3.5% before the pandemic hit. It went up as high as 14.8%. Now it's back down to about 6%. More people are getting vaccinated. The economy is opening up, and people are getting back to doing their jobs. So it's an exciting time after having been through a very challenging period as a result of the pandemic. But in Washington, D.C., occasionally you'll see that there's a Trojan horse trotted out, and it's given a label like COVID-19 relief, the $1.9 trillion bill that was passed on a party line vote recently. The reason why I call it a Trojan horse is only about 10% of the money that was in that bill was actually related to COVID-19. The rest was a wish list, a partisan wish list for other things that the federal government, the Biden administration wanted to spend money on. And now we're talking about infrastructure. I bet you thought you knew what infrastructure was. Roads, bridges, airports, seaports, what you see behind us. But no, we now have people like Secretary Buttigieg on TV yesterday talk about something called equity infrastructure. Again, I would just invite you to look at what they're talking about spending the money on. A lot of it has nothing to do, matter of fact, 95% of it has nothing to do with things like you see behind us here today. Infrastructure is important to our state and to our nation because this is where we improve public safety. We make sure our roads are safe. We improve air quality so we don't have traffic lingering in places like this. And we keep our economy moving. So I want to just say to my friend Chairman Bugg and to Stan, all the great folks at TxDOT, thanks for keeping us on track and for making sure these projects end up on time or even ahead of schedule. And I'm delighted to be here with, of course, with the judge and the mayor to celebrate this great work. But when people start talking infrastructure, you need to ask them two questions. What are you talking about when you're talking about infrastructure? Are you talking about roads and bridges and things like that? Or are you talking about social welfare spending? The second is, how are you going to pay for it? You know, you can't build this infrastructure without paying for it. But we don't need to raise taxes on the American people in order to pay for this infrastructure. What we can do is make sure that the people who use the infrastructure are the ones that contribute to the funds that help pay for it, the so-called user fee model. That's where the gas tax comes from. Every time you buy a gallon of gas, part of that money goes into the highway trust fund that's used to build infrastructure like this. So we don't go for this idea that we got to raise taxes just as we're coming out of a recession as a result of the pandemic in order to build infrastructure. But I'm proud to be back here in Central Texas where we are booming. It's great to see this economy going so well thanks to great leadership here. And again, thanks to my friend Chairman Bruce Bugg and TxDOT, Stan and the whole team for making sure we keep America and Texas moving while we invest in real infrastructure, not the cotton candy kind that you hear talked about so much in Washington, D.C. With that, I'm happy to answer a couple of questions, and we've got some real experts here behind me if I can't answer. It's a little loud out here, so you all have to shout it out.
So for the public here, you know, they're obviously, the biggest thing is a lot of them, you guys hear me okay? The biggest thing they want to know is, you know, when is this eventually going to be done? This bill that you're putting forward, does it help this get, if it went forward, would it help this get done any faster with additional resources in different places that are troublesome? How would this help us move along for the people?
I'm going to defer to the real experts.
Stan, you're the one building it. Go ahead.
Boy, talk about getting put on the spot. We don't like to talk about being ahead of schedule because it kind of jinxes us sometimes, but right now we are ahead of schedule on this project, and you know, we hope to get further along in schedule. The hard part of this job is done, which is the underground, and we don't have a lot of unknowns out there that we may have had when we first started. So we're looking for late 20, where's my real expert over there? We're looking for a late 22 completion, maybe a little bit sooner.
How can the federal government help you additionally with this project? And money.
Yeah.
On this project, we are fully funded already, and they've already done that, but we have other needs in the area like Mayor Meek and Judge Felton were talking about, so it's all about the dollars. And Chairman Bugg, he's the best when it comes to finding us dollars, so thank you, Chairman.
It's nice to have friends like
Yeah.
Senator Cornyn. But if
Yeah.
I can speak to the funding. So you asked about how important the federal government was in this project. Typically, when we do an interstate project, there's an 80-20 match, and the federal match is about 80%, and the state comes in at about 20%. So I can't emphasize enough how important our partnership at TxDOT is with the federal government, and I can't emphasize how important it is to have our Senator John Cornyn, his leadership skills, leading all the issues for the state of Texas. But today we're talking about infrastructure, and I can't think of a better spokesperson for the state of Texas than working with his colleagues in Washington, D.C. and Senator John Cornyn. And we're so proud of you, John, and your leadership. Thank you.
I might just add one other thing. You know, I know there's a electric charging station down the road here. I've got nothing against electric vehicles. Someday maybe I can even afford one. But the fact of the matter is we have about 280 million cars on the road today that are run by internal combustion engines. The proposal from the Biden administration spends more money on subsidies for electric vehicles than it does on the concrete and the rebar and the work you see behind us here. So I think we should encourage new technologies. I think obviously we're in a position of transition, as we always are when it comes to the way we move people around. But we got to stick with basics, I believe, and make sure, for example, that electric vehicles pay some money into the trust fund that helps build this infrastructure that they use. Right now, I think you see people who are fascinated by the technology but are divorced from the reality of what we actually need to do by getting back to basics. Well, I'm glad to hear we'll get Stan back up here, or the mayor or the judge. But Stan said that we're ahead of schedule, which is almost unheard of. Certainly in Washington, D.C., nothing runs ahead of schedule. But I'm proud of our folks here at TxDOT and the contractors working here to make sure that this project is ahead of schedule. So, Mayor?
I'll just jump in really quickly to answer that question. The city and the county and our MPO have worked in strong partnership to really put on our 70-year goggles in anticipation of significant growth and really double down on our capital improvements and capital investments, both in our core city streets that are not TxDOT projects, as well as partnering with our MPO and with TxDOT on TxDOT projects as appropriate. And for some information on Waco capital investments, you can go to our city website or buildingwaco.com. That has a long list of capital investments and capital improvements at the city level. And again, I'm very thankful for the strong partnerships we have with the county, our MPO and TxDOT, and our federal leadership to really ensure that we're working with 70-year goggles on at all times in anticipation of great growth that is attracted to the economic opportunity here in Waco. Stan, anything you want to add to that? Judge?
I think you're starting to get the picture that TxDOT, the local community, the federal government, and the state government, we're all working together to do things like bring more infrastructure to Waco. The list is a lot farther than we have money for, but you know, we all have wish lists, but you know, they're wish lists that are based in reality here in Waco. And with the expanding economy and the way things are booming here, you know, we're always going to have something to do at TxDOT, working with the city and with the state. So we're in good shape.
got one last question down here.
So, if you're speaking of this project right here, this is fully funded. The money's in the bank, and we just pay the contractor as he does the work.
So when you say fully funded, does that mean like everything that's on this list right here? Is this all paid for right now?
Well, what we tried to those infrastructure needs are on I-35 compared to the infrastructure plan, which I call the cotton candy plan, that's coming out of Washington, D.C. First of all, it raises taxes by $2.1 trillion. I know they always talk about taxing the rich, but you'd be amazed at how much regular, hard-working middle-class families end up paying whenever Washington raises taxes. Obviously, raising taxes, it would have a negative impact on the great recovery that we're experiencing now with 1.6 million jobs lost. It would actually decrease the amount of money that employers could pay their employees and lower wages. And obviously, some of the pie-in-the-sky predictions about electric vehicles, sure, they're going to be part of the mix. But as I said, there are 280 million cars on the road now and will be for the foreseeable future as we transition into more renewable sources of energy. And again, finally, only 5% of the Biden proposal actually goes for projects like we see here. It is a Trojan horse designed to spend money on a lot of other things and try to make you believe that it was actually infrastructure like we see behind us.
We gotta wrap there, I apologize. Before you guys leave, can I have you slide over? We'll get a group photo real quick.
Sure.
All right. Okay, looking at this camera first. 1, 2, 3. Okay, working. I think we're good. Perfect. Thank you guys.
Great. Thanks, John.
Senator, appreciate you so much. Thanks, sir. We know what we can do to help you.
Thanks, Judge.
Great to see you.
As I said, the most feared words in the English language are from the federal government.
Yeah, right. Judge, good to be with you.
When everybody says that, you start watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and Chairman Bugg and I we got some other ideas. We've always got some ideas. I had to run it by him to make sure it wasn't a dumb idea.
Right.
But we're continuing to work on it.
We are. John, I'll walk out. Judge,
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.